Hello, World Civ 106, and welcome to week 9. So, this week we are covering Judaism. And as I mentioned at the beginning of your lectures, that you'll see that there's a reason why I made this separate from the topic of the Hebrews in ancient Israel. And this is a lecture that I really kind of tailored to this class. That something that I wanted to incorporate and give an entire week to this subject, because I really do think, and I believe that I mentioned this in several of my lectures, that especially people with a Christian background that just read the Bible look at Jewish people who are religious today through the eyes of the Bible, the stories that they're reading in the Bible, and they are totally misconceptualizing the way that Jewish religious life operates in the contemporary world and has for centuries. Because when you're reading the Old Testament, as Christians call it, that is representing a time period, a way of life, a set of circumstances that are completely outside of what Jews can do and practice now. The majority of Jews throughout the world have practiced a religious faith outside of the quote-unquote Holy Land. And also the temple sacrifices that even took place during the time of Jesus, as is written down in the gospel texts, can no longer take place, and you will learn about this also in the history. So this is going to be really informative for you, and going over the Talmud is a very, I think, important just topic to cover to understand Judaism. And so many of you are going to say, the Talmud, what is that? Well, you're going to see. And it's basically Jewish interpretation of what the Bible really means. And you'll see how different this is. Now, what I'd like to recommend, for those of you who are really interested in this topic, now this book is not cheap. When I say book, it's the Bible, but this edition. But these are beautifully bound, these stone editions, and this is just the 5 books of the Bible, or the Torah. Now, it says the Chumash. The Chumash is the Hebrew word for the 5. Okay? So it's another way of saying the 5 books: Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy. The first 5 books of the Bible. In the Hebrew Aramaic scriptures that the Jews use and the Christians use. Okay? Now, what I like about this is, if you are interested, if you're one of those for religious reasons or just because you like to nerd out and know how the world operates, you will read the verses, and then it'll give you footnotes of commentaries of the ways the rabbis have looked at these scriptures. And if you have a Christian background, you will get a sense that sometimes these interpretations are very different than the way that you were hearing, or if you were having a discussion about these texts at a church, the conclusions that were drawn or the approach to the stories are going to be a little bit different at times, or extremely different from the way that traditional Jewish scholars and theologians have thought about, the rabbis. Okay? So that's just something to mention if you happen to have a strong interest in this topic. And so that's all I want to say for now. On that, everything will be very self-explanatory when you cover the material in there. You'll see that we were going to originally have like an assignment and an exam. I canceled the assignment. You just have the exam. And it needs to be about 2 pages. It's also, the information is very self-explanatory. You know how I'm grading on Sunday papers. Basically, just do that, but give me concrete examples, times, places, dates, names, all that stuff. And keep in mind that I'm looking for you to show knowledge of the material that we covered directly in this class. Okay, this is not a research paper. I don't want to see outside sources brought into this, other than what we've covered. Okay, so that's very important right now. And if you decide you want to add an outside source to like pepper it in, with just a little bit, if it's not the main part of your paper, I don't mind that. If you just really, but that shouldn't be mainly what I'm seeing in the papers. Okay, and goodness, I feel like there was something else important I was going to say on this. Oh yeah, the last thing. So we're going to go over Rome next week, and then we're going to cover Germanic paganism and Christianity in 1 week, and we're going to do a lot with that as well. And there's a reason why I do that. I wanted to strictly focus on Christianity, but I felt, I'll explain the logic behind what I'm doing for that week when we get there. But I do think that many of you will enjoy. You will see that we still do a very thorough covering of Christianity, but I put the context of the belief systems going on and throughout much of the Western world prior to Christianity. Anyways, we'll get to that. If you have any questions, as I always state, please contact me. I like to be there for all of you, and I hope you're having a great week. I hope you enjoyed your weekend, and I hope that you have a great week coming up. I'll just stop talking now. Okay.